What's up guys? Today I'll be doing a video on some of the different types of faction bases. And yeah, let's get started. First base is when you first spawn in, you just put your chests down and it's just in the wild just to put your stuff away since you don't have a base. It's like a temporary base, you know? Since it's not protected, I would say that have to be F tier. Although if you're stacking, it's an okay stacking place. Let's get into the next base. Next base is like a small cottage home, you know? Like you come from survival and you just like make a temporary house. This is easy to raid. That's why you need to make your bases out of obsidian. It's a little bit better than out in the open, since if you do make doors, if people don't have sea eggs they can't get in. That's gonna be E tier. Now the next one is lava chests. Lava chests prevent simple X-rayers from finding chests in your base. Although some people may have different mods and clients that can see chests. So although it's a little bit better, it's not good because there's like it offers almost no protection. People would just go from the sides. That's probably like C tier. The next base is spawn hoppers. Spawn hoppers are pretty decent since I don't think anybody checks them, but some people do, so that's like a risk. But if you want to just like toss your friend's stuff without getting lag cleared, it's an easy way to transfer your stuff and hold it if you're just gonna go like on a different account. That's probably D tier. Now here's one of my favorites, the ender chest. The ender chest, no one can raid it. Like absolutely no one except maybe like Tree if he like clears it. But that's about it. So that's instant S in my books. The next base would be like a sky base, unclaimed. Well, it could be claimed if people don't know how to can net. But people still can net. They can just add dispensers and TNT. If it's over a sand biome, I'm pretty sure it's harder to find. But people like chest ESP and high render distance, it's like a flaw. But I've had, I think, 2 or 3 in the past couple seasons, and they haven't gotten raided for like a couple months. So it's an okay base. I'd rate it B tier. Next chest is just a single water chest. I mean, if they don't know how to rate it, I think it can be really decent. Although, if they can rod the creeper up, like up there and flint it, it's easy to raid. That's probably B tier as well. Next one is water chests with enchanting tables on them. This was really easy to raid. I made a video on it, but then Tree patched it so you can't blow up obsidian. So the enchanting tables are really hard to break now. I think because of this buff to them, since Tree nerfed obsidian or creeper eggs on obsidian, it should be an S since it's really hard to raid unless you like sand cannon stack it and TNT it. The next chest would be the lava chests and like the lava base. One flaw is that when someone blows it up, your stuff like gets like deleted, you know, by lava. And if you like accidentally break it, it kind of like deletes it. Like I had one time where I put my donor axe in there and someone tested it at Amamu1024 and he like burned it, so that's like a bad thing. I'd rate that as like C tier, maybe B tier. The next one is just like an Optic Box in the middle of nowhere. This is easy to raid, but it offers more protection because creeper eggs can't damage it, so someone has to build a cannon. Because someone has to build a cannon and do a little bit of extra work, that places it in the B tier. Next, this is just a tip, because some people can get in through the top somehow, so just make sure you double layer your roof on your base to just make sure no one can exploit. So let's just put it in B because that's not really base. Next base is a watered Optic Box. This is a little bit harder because you have to sand stack or just TNT aside, and I don't think many people know how to do that, although they can just watch YouTube tutorials. So I think that should be an A tier. The next base is a water chest like that. Because the water's flowing, it makes it a little bit more protected since creeper will just fall out. But if you like push it in the side and flint it, you can get easily raided in there. So don't make it one above and like have the roof. Make sure there's space in between it. Because of that, I think it would be B tier. Next one is just like unwatered, unprotected chests in a base. Like I've seen this so many times. People think they're safe with obby walls, but they're not. Because if you get in, you can just blow up the chest and they're not protected. You can just take a little bit of time and prod it like these ones and make it really protected. Because of this, I think it's pretty much D tier if they get in. Now this was really protected. Because first they have to cannon it, then they have to like stack TNT and sand to blow up this chest. So I think that also constitutes as S. Now one water chest, that's basically the same thing as the regular water chest. But it's encased in obby, so it makes it a little bit more protected. So that's like B plus probably. Now this is a prime example of how I've seen like 5 of the raided bases I've raided this season. They have just water chests, but they have 3 stacked, like touching the floor. So if you see, you can just put a sea egg there and flint in between, and they blow up the bottom 2 and leave the top chest hanging. So it's really easy to raid. I suggest you break it so it's just like one chest and put enchanting tables on top. Because of that, it's gonna be A tier since some of them gets broken, but like one stays on top, you know? Here's another favorite, the Shulker Box. It's basically unraidable, but it can be lag cleared, so that's like its only flaw, I think. So yeah, and it's only out of the donor crate, so you have to like snipe one off AH or trade for someone. So that's instant S. Now this is really hard to raid unless you know how to cannon it. I doubt people know how to cannon end bases, because if you try to creep raid the chest, it just gets teleported to the end. I think maybe like 0.1% of people know how to raid it, like Berry Cute and like Copton, but like they're banned. But rip. So that's probably S, since I don't think anybody can raid it. The next base would just be like a chest storage room underground. I think this is an okay base if you like protect the outsides, but if it's just made out of stone, it's not really that protected and people can just sea egg in or cannon in. That's why it should be, I think, C tier, since it's not protected. Next one is just like a faction home. Like this base looks alright. If they prodded the walls, I think it would be B tier. So it's a nice base, so I'll just put that as B tier as well. Here we have regens on Michael Lennox base. Cannons sometimes don't work because of the server lag, so that's why regens are really effective, unless you know how to cannon. So I think this is a decent base, so I'll put it on S tier. Here's the next base, sand walls. Sand walls are effective if you water them and if you protect them well, but people can just sig the sand, and it's basically just a little bit of annoyance to the raiders. So that's why I'm gonna put it in A tier. The next base is a border end base. Some of the flaws is that it's on the border and people kind of look for bases on the border. That's like what I found. I found like 2 bases on the border and raided them. One of them was Utopia, funny enough, with Michael Lennox. But if you have gen buckets, I think it's really hard for people to find this, because if they're members, they have to build all the way to the border, but people with fly can find it. That's why it's probably just A tier. Next base is another case of regens, but it's on the end. I think it's pretty decent, since the cannon, they can't really stack sand, so that's like one positive to this. So that should be A tier, maybe S tier on a good day. The next base is just like a prime example. See, he has 3 chests and they're touching the ground, so I could have just creeper egged right there and flinted it and it would have exploded. But this is like a nice base. I'd put it probably in C tier. This is a duplicate photo, don't mind that. Next base is just like an underground base for like storage stuff. Like you're clearing out an area and you haven't fully protected it. I would say it's like on the same level as like the D tier since they're not really protected. The next base is like a cactus farm, or you have a farm on top of your base. Like that's pretty obvious if you have a farm on top of your base. So I don't really like that idea, but if you want to, sure. If you can protect it well enough. I'll put that in like E tier, since they can just find the cactus base and like go down to where it's collecting. The next base is just a regular border base. If it's watered or not, it's like more protected, but still, people fly around the border and then they just raided it, so it's really easy to raid. I suggest going into the higher coordinates, like maybe 3k away from the border, and build your base, since like /wild doesn't get you there, since it only goes in like the 10k ranges. So if you go out of the 10k ranges, it's pretty good. So border bases, they're like B tier. Next one is corner bases. Now if you know what you're doing, corner bases are actually okay, but people can find them and raid them. Because some people just set home at the start of the season inside each of the corners, just in case someone makes a base. So there are some flaws. But sometimes you don't even have to do these 2 walls. So it's okay. I'll put that in A tier. The next base is an obby box with rings. Because obby got buffed and creeper eggs can't destroy it, rings are really effective. Because you have to stack up the sand and blow up each ring, since creeper eggs can't do it. I think if you did some of the other tricks with the obby box and like added dispensers, it would be really hard to raid. That's why it should be an A tier. The next base is like a survival base. It's like, it's not effective since it's made out of cobble. This is kind of like a joke base if you like don't know what factions is about before you get into obby and everything. That's why it's probably like a D tier base. Next base is a base on the Nether Roof. So this is kind of hard because normal members can't get up there unless they get TP'd up there. And once everybody gets up there, they'll just have set homes. So I wouldn't recommend it, but it's like okay if you're trying to get quick storage space. That's probably like a B tier base. The next base is like an unclaimed base in the Nether. It's really hard to see chests up in the Nether unless you're flying. And some people don't even have set homes up there. So I suggest leaving it unclaimed at some good chords. So it's like a decent base, maybe 1 up from a sky base since normal members can't get on the top. That's maybe B at the worst and A. The next base is just an watered obby box with like regions and defenses with dispensers inside. Dispensers are really effective because some people can't free camp through them, or at least it's really hard to. So that's why people use dispensers, and that's why there's 64 of them in the shop. And yeah, so I think that would be an S tier, because some people don't know how to raid that. And the next one is just like a dispenser box in the middle of the ocean. Yeah, it's hard to get into with creeper eggs, and it's like not unraidable. I mean, it is raidable. But if someone cannons it from the side and like uses sponges from the claim, I think it's like not a good base, and you should just add more defenses. So that's why it should be B tier. Now the last one is my favorite. Just a bunch of chests in the ocean, watered, with enchanting tables on them. If you put the loot and spread it around, it's gonna be really hard to find which chest has the good stuff in it, and they'll just waste their time trying to blow up one chest. I've seen someone try to blow up a chest for like 20 minutes and failed, and then they just gave up. So I think this is like the best chest option, or the best base option, if you're trying to save money and you don't want to spend time working on a base. So I suggest building these. And yeah, that's about it. Thanks for watching. If you like the video, you can subscribe and like the video, you know, and turn on notifications. Also, I'm starting up a Discord server where I can announce streams and giveaways, and I have some good things planned on there, like e-transfer stuff, you know, money. If you like that, be sure to join. I'll put the link in the description. And yeah, thanks for watching.